Hi there, welcome to Thursday. It is June 20th. Happy summer solstice. I'm Deanne Battle, and this is the Composite. We are in season 4, episode 4. All right. So I hope everyone is doing well. We might have a shorter broadcast today, but I think that that's fine. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, you've maybe seen enough of me for the time being, for those that have been watching. But again, hope you've had a good day and hope you have a great weekend ahead of you. This heat wave it's doing a lot, and it's just the first day of summer. So I'm anticipating that it gets better or worse depending on your perspective. Just a moment. I needed some tea. My throat has been a little scratchy. Hold on a second. The dog just came in the house, so I'm going to close the door. And there we go. All right. So, announcements. Just another reminder. We've got our first official interview tomorrow with Jasmine McMullen, who is a writer and a multimedia artist. And so I know her. She's a dear friend from the Vermont College of Fine Arts. So I had a chance to meet her, get familiar with her work, and get familiar with her as a person during my studies there. So really looking forward to having a chat with her tomorrow for about 15 or 20 minutes. And we'll go live at this time at 5 p.m. I'm kind of proud of myself that I've been able to commit to the 5 p.m. this week, because usually I'm running all over the place and my schedule's crazy. So we might hover at 5 p.m. For the foreseeable future, the 2 to 3 days a week that I come on. Yeah. Again, a little more casual and informal here, just to get the scratchiness out of my throat. Here's what I think happened. It has been super hot, and usually I try to wash my hair the day before, but I did wash and go, so to speak, on Wednesday or Thursday. So that plus the air conditioning might be having an effect. Who knows? All right. So, like I said, interview. Just looking at my notes here, and I'll continue to bombard this account and my other account with reminders, because that's going to be a treat. All right. So the second thing that I want to do is talk about Juneteenth. It's a day late, but I took Juneteenth off and just rested and thought, and a lot of folks, I don't know who started this, but they've been posting meme commemorations for the ones who chose the sea, meaning that, when being enslaved on a slave ship, there were enslaved Africans that, they jumped overboard and they drowned. And so I agreed with the impulse, and I liked a couple of posts where people were addressing it directly. And I haven't unliked the post, but then it just occurred to me that that's like a super, in my opinion, weird thing to point out on Juneteenth. How do I phrase this? There's something about those of us that, let's say, are under the age of 50, where, I know a lot of people are like, well, we're not our ancestors, right? Meaning that, we'll turn up, if you harm me, I'm going to get violent. But it's just like, they sacrifice so much for us. You know what I mean? Even though, I still have so much indignation about the way the semi-freed peoples of North America are treated, I do have that level of respect for their sacrifice. And so for me, when I think of Juneteenth, right? Which I'll be completely honest, I didn't hear about Juneteenth at all until I was an adult. Now, my family on both sides is from the South, but I was born and raised in New York. And to my knowledge, I don't think I have relatives from Texas. So it wasn't something I ever learned about in school, ever. But, nevertheless, when I think of it, I don't immediately think of those that chose death over enslavement. Now, I will say, as I get older, I get it. Because there's a particular insidiousness that the global structure of white supremacy perpetrates, and it can just seem insurmountable. And so that dignified part of you, and not to say that the rest of you isn't, but that super proud part of you that would rather, right, die on your feet than live on your knees. I get that. But that doesn't mean that we downgrade those ancestors that did stay alive and continue to endure and continue to fight and generate us. That doesn't mean that we disrespect the ancestors that did nonviolent protest during the 1960s, 70s, so on and so forth. And I say this as someone who, I'm not a historian. I probably have limited historical knowledge, but nevertheless, I just wonder who is orchestrating these moments that feel like gotcha moments when we celebrate our triumphs. So, for example, I noticed that for the last couple of years, and again, this is online discourse, so do with that what you may. I'm still at a point where that's kind of my primary touch point outside of work, until I move at least. And so I've noticed there's been this discourse that during Black History Month, when we present our icons, whether it's Frederick Douglass or Malcolm X or Harriet Tubman or Rosa Parks, so on and so forth, there have been particular intellectuals, scholars, cultural figures that are like, well, I know that Martin Luther King is one of our icons, but let me tell you how horrible he was for cheating on his wife and da-da-da-da-da, or whatever. And that bothers me that people take Black History Month to do that. Now, should Dr. King be revealed in all his complexity as a human? Definitely. But why during Black History Month? You see, it seems like there is a contingent of Black people that are being paid to throw these microaggressive monkey wrenches in our holidays, in our traditions, in our celebrations, and they're not slick at all. And it's really unfortunate. And so I bring this up in relationship to Juneteenth because I feel like that's the direction Juneteenth is going in. It's just going to be another opportunity for a performative Black holiday where, again, we can never have our moment in the sun. There always has to be like sand thrown in our eyes. And I just wanted to say that, to vocalize that, and to continue to have an awareness of that because it's super weird. Another thing that's super weird about Juneteenth is, and I didn't think about this last year because I've still been getting used to the concept of Juneteenth as a holiday, just in terms of like where it sits culturally. But a good point that people have is it's not a ubiquitous holiday, right? Meaning that it's a very specific holiday, right? It's saying that it's for, freed people, right? Descended of enslaved Africans. Like, it's that moment in Texas, right, where they finally found out that they were free. Like, it's a particular moment in time. And so it's not just generally for everyone, and it's not for all Black people. It's for a specific ethnicity of Black people. And that's relevant because people are wondering, right, like the red, black, and green Pan-African flag that connotes a Pan-African connection. People are wondering, is that appropriate? And so I don't think it is. And so it was something that I noticed last year but didn't say anything about it because, again, I'm still processing, well, what does Juneteenth mean to me in my life in terms of where I am in my social, spiritual, political, and cultural evolution as a Black woman. And I'm still working through that, so I don't pretend to have all the answers. However, I think it's important that my particular ethnicity that is very much rooted here in the United States, that I'm allowed to celebrate that without being erased. And there is a level of erasure happening when everybody puts a kente cloth next to Juneteenth. It's fucking weird. It's weird. Sorry. And, maybe, I'm wrong about that, whatever. It's weird. Like, when Haitians have Juve, I believe, that's their thing. Or is it Trinidad? My apologies. Again, it's not my ethnicity, but when I see people celebrating, I tell them have a happy holiday and, welcome to it. Like, if you think about it, there's a debate on, well, if you're not from Texas, even if you should celebrate it. And I'm willing to have that conversation too, because I'm not sure, but I do know it's not a Pan-African holiday. And maybe the spirit of it matters more than the representation. But I do know that, again, as the representations change, in terms of my example from Black History Month, once that door is open, I think it inherently becomes disrespectful. And I'm not sure why. Well, I have theories. But it inherently becomes disrespectful. And so, again, if Juneteenth is really to have any value, we have to guard against the same thing happening to Juneteenth that's happened to Black History Month. Just the level of performativity around anything having to do with my people's history and culture is so problematic. And it's the first day of summer, right? So our next holiday coming up is July 4th. And there's seemingly a large movement of Black people that disavow July 4th, disavow the American flag, and embrace Juneteenth instead. I'm entitled to both. I'm entitled to Juneteenth and I'm entitled to July 4th. My ancestors died for both. They suffered for both. They fought for both. So I'm hitting up everything, right? So if there's an official thing that says, hey, officially we're converting to a Pan-African flag for Juneteenth, whatever committee or, whoever they decide is in charge of us, that's a completely different discussion. But whoever they decide is in charge, whether it's a red, black, and green flag, whether it is, a white flag with the red and blue, which is, my understanding is, that's the official flag for Juneteenth, and that's what I've been posting on my social media. So whether it's that, or whether it's the American flag on July 4th, my country is problematic as fuck, but I'm celebrating the hell out of all of it because it is my birthright. I am entitled to it. I really wish Black people would stop removing ourselves from our birthright here, that we're entitled to, that we're the fabric of, so on and so forth. It undermines us, right? Because ultimately, like, we don't have anywhere else to go where we'll be loved and accepted, so on and so forth. Like, this is home. And so I would rather fight with my problematic home as opposed to reject it. And then where do I go? Right? Then you're stateless. And there are enough stateless people in this world. Right? And I can't help them if I'm stateless. I can't help my own folks if I'm stateless. We can't have conversations about restitution if we're stateless. And so I celebrate both. And so whether they're the ancestors that I've seen on the 1850 or 1851 slave rolls from my own lineage, whether they're the ancestors that chose the sea, I thank all of them so much. And the road is still long and very hard. But I think I said this before, we are so close. We are so close to finally being fully free. And I let their sacrifices fortify me when I feel like, things are too much, where I feel overburdened. I know it's not what they endured. And so I pick myself up and I keep going. And at a basic thematic level, that is what Juneteenth means to me. That they still dreamed of freedom, even though they had it, even though they didn't know they had it. So thank you to all of those folks that struggled, that died, that were terrorized, that endured. I love you very much. And just a moment. I think I had mentioned I got a new Oracle deck. I didn't show it to you though. So there's this one. It's called Ask Your Guides. I haven't been messing around with this too much, but from the cards I've pulled thus far, it's pretty cool. The book is very prescriptive in the sense of, like, it gives you a theme or an idea to think about, and then from there, like, from the contemplations, like an activity that you can do. Okay, so usually whether it's tarot or an oracle deck, hold on a second. Oh God, what a mess. All right. So whether it's tarot or an oracle deck, I usually keep the card. If I've only pulled, a few cards, I keep the last card that I've pulled face up, so I remember. So this was the card that I pulled the other day, and it says pleasure at the top, and it's a number 9, and it says divine goddess. And so then you would just go into the book and read what it says. So what I figured I could do now is just maybe ask a question in relationship to Juneteenth or in relationship to Black liberation. See what comes up, because that shit is important to me. And this is obnoxious, but I do feel my voice coming back, so c'est la vie. Okay, so what would I ask? What should we, let me write this down. What should we prioritize? My questions are always so long and convoluted. At this moment regarding the struggle. Yeah, I definitely am not representing it in English as an English teacher at this moment, because this is a wordy ass question. Regarding the struggle for Black liberation. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'll start with the Oracle deck, and then I'll pull some tarot cards. All righty. All right, so what should we prioritize at this moment regarding the struggle for Black liberation? Okay, let's see what it says. Let's see what this deck has for us. I got a pendulum too. I'm not connecting with that thing at all. It's just kind of like, I'm like, I don't got the sauce. I don't have the pendulum sauce. All right, sadness. Okay. Sorry if the cards are loud. One more. Alrighty. So, what should we prioritize at this moment regarding the struggle to keep the iPhone in the right position? Yes. Still don't have my production budget together. Bear with me. All right. What should we prioritize at this moment regarding the struggle for Black liberation? All right. Just pull 2 cards. Oh, okay. Thank you. Came out back to back. Oh. This is not going to be the lift every voice and sing moment that I wanted, all right? But bear with me. All right, so the first card is Compromise, the Master Teacher, and I'll read from the book on that. And then the second card is Despair, Nature Spirits. Okay, Lord, let's see what that says. All right, so Compromise is number 49, and it says, Compromise / Master Teacher, Concession, Fairness, Democracy, Neutrality. Your Master Teacher is reminding you that nothing is entirely good or bad, even people, and that every person has their own version of reality, which may not necessarily agree with yours. Okay, I see where they're going with this. Thanks, folks. Instead of arguing with you or feeling wronged by those who refuse to submit to your point of view, give up your righteous and rigid demands and broaden your perspective to include the interests of those you struggle with now. Mentally move towards center and open your mind to look at the situation from their point of view. Although it's easy to feel indignant and defensive, I do feel indignant, as you deal with this current impasse, the truth is that no one's trying to harm you. I don't agree with that, folks. Instead, your detractors are simply supporting their own interests and priorities, which are different from yours. Rather than react emotionally to their resistance, strive to understand them. Be mindful to not be overly self-centered, however justified it may feel. Strive to be fair instead. Your master teacher's message, quote, accept that your interests are no more and no less important than those of people around you. So the only way to progress to higher ground is to compromise, end quote. All right. So what I would take from that is probably coalition building more, which is hard because I don't even think we have a coalition amongst ourselves, but that's another story. But let me be very clear. Excuse me. There's this weird term I see people using online, black supremacist. First of all, it doesn't exist. And second of all, if it did, I am not one of them. I just want liberation. I want to be able to utilize my free will as I see fit. I want my equal dignity and humanity. I mean, I think that that's basic. So I think if we're looking at this compromise card, as long as you're not venturing into a territory where you're implying or enacting a level of superiority, but rather are willing to compromise, I guess, for more incremental progress, then, excuse me, maybe that's what that card is getting at, but, excuse me, yeah. So, listen, when you work with oracle cards, when you work with tarot cards, if you really want to be, open to a message, whether the message is from you, so whether the message is from me to myself, or whether the message is actually from a higher power, you ain't gonna like everything that the cards have to say. So we just sit in it and we listen and process the wisdom as it's coming to us. All right, so now let's look up despair. Lord. Okay, so despair, nature spirits, despondency, desperation, torment, apprehension. Okay. Whether you call it a bad mood, a bad day, or even a bad life, a feeling of complete desolation and despair has you in its grip. All seems bleak. This isn't to suggest that your feelings of hopelessness are without cause. Genuinely difficult situations may be causing true anxiety, but it's more likely that your fears are exaggerating things way out of proportion. Again, I'll sit with that for a moment. Fortunately, your nature spirits are on hand, luring you out of your inner despair and rerouting your attention back to nature. They urge you to stop dwelling on problems for the time being and go outside, breathe some air. It says smell the grass. I was going to say touch grass. So yeah, take a walk, notice the wind. Come back to earth, back to the moment, back to the beauty and bounty your divine mother offers. If you're feeling trapped in an emotional maze of fear and drama, your only way back to balance and clarity is to get grounded in the moment and return to the natural world. Let your nature spirits lead you to Mother Earth, as she will calm and comfort your soul. The message for you is, quote, get back to nature, end quote. Okay. So I guess, as I was saying, you get very frustrated. I get very frustrated when I see these massive setbacks in terms of how people are living when people are murdered by police and others. But what it's saying is, I think sometimes we're allowing despair to make us lose sight of what we are fighting for, which again is, right, liberation, right? And ultimately, like, a liberated Black person is connected with nature, right? All liberated people connected with nature, right? In the sense of allowing us moments of being present, moments of connection to a nurturing source, allowing us to get out of our heads. We're not just, right, this little box here. We are actually animals, hopefully in harmony with our Creator and other living creatures. And so that's important. I think also it's saying, if I'm extrapolating outward, or at least what I'm thinking about are the ways in which very real racial discrimination can be weaponized. I'm thinking specifically of this Candace Owens interview tour that she's doing. And, right, I feel like, some of these outlets are entertaining her, whether going on her show or having her on their show. They're entertaining her, right, because, she's, if you're unfamiliar with her name, she is a talking head, a pundit. She was for the Daily Wire, but, she's asked certain political questions and taken certain stances that her employer didn't agree with. So they fired her. And so now there is this narrative, because something similar happened to Brianna Joy Gray, which I think I mentioned last episode. She got fired from The Rising, again, for her political beliefs, her questioning of our foreign policy. And so, a lot of folks have said, right, here are these two Black women on the left and the right, and they've both been fired, right, because they're not allowed to utilize their free speech. But here's the thing. Let me go back to the book, and let me tell you the sentence that made me think of that. Right, in that first paragraph, genuinely difficult situations may be causing true anxiety, but it's more likely that your fears are exaggerating things way out of proportion. So how does this relate to Candace Owens? Stop giving this woman access to Black people. Stop giving this woman access to Black platforms, because she is a grifter and she doesn't care about Black issues or Black people. She literally is just using that as a calling card so she can garner some sympathy and clicks and views. And so, listen, does race have something to do with what happened to her and to Brianna? Definitely. But don't put them in the same category, because she's said a lot of really vile shit about my people, and about my ethnicity specifically, and I don't fuck with Candace Owens. I will never fuck with Candace Owens. I don't care how many times she gets fired or embarrassed by conservatives. Like, those are the people that you were in bed with, right? If you lie down with dogs, you wake up with fleas. So that's that. Very annoying. All right. So yeah, despair. If you don't want to live in despair, avoid her, perhaps. Anywho, I'm gonna pull some tarot cards. It's just, people just act so brand new. I mean, I think she was on Joe Budden, and I'm just like, what is wrong with some of these platforms? Stop giving this woman a microphone. She's vile. She's really vile. I mean, like, if someone were to say, hey, we'll pay you $3 million to say every black person should be, capped in the head, I think she would take that check and say it. She really would. She's got no moral compass at all. And then she claims to be a Christian. Yeah, right. Anyway, a couple more times. So I'm just going to use a few tarot cards here just to clarify that oracle message a bit, just to see if there's any, additional messages that we can get out of that. I don't have a go-to spread. I'm not an official reader. I'm just kind of dicking around, basically. But usually if you watch any reader on social media, they usually have their go-to spread, like in terms of how they're connecting with spirit and how they actually channel a message. I haven't gotten there yet. I mean, I am experimenting with a few different things. If I come up with something profound, I'll let you know about it. Okay, so let's clarify our question here. What should we prioritize at this moment regarding the struggle for black liberation? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. And then one more. Thank you. Okay, so. All right, the first card out of the gate was the Page of Pentacles in reverse. And then we have the King of Wands. And then we have the Five of Pentacles. All right. Now in the upright, hold on a sec. In the upright, pages bring messages. I've said this before as well, but, I don't really know who's watching this, so I'll repeat myself. Pages bring messages, okay? And so pentacles, right, are related to the tangible, material, earthly realm, right? So a Page of Pentacles might bring you a message of an opportunity, or, it could be affection or a relationship, but it would be like an actual relationship. Like the Page of Pentacles usually is not a jump off, right? Like it would be someone who's like, hey, I really like you, want to see if we can work something out. Now, if it is reversed, I would read that as there's some sort of opportunity that's being rejected or delayed or refuted somehow. Okay, so wands represent passion, right? And so the King of Wands is self-assured, authoritative, but very inspirational, good-looking, passionate. And so that can represent like a creative opportunity, again, maybe related to relationship, but doesn't have to be. All right. And then we've got the Five of Pentacles. Five of Pentacles is like if you're feeling out in the cold, kind of if you have a lack mindset, right? There's something, right, that's not connecting here, right? Because all they have to do is go knock on the door to try to go inside, but they're kind of turning their back on maybe a potential opportunity. All right, so for the oracle cards, we had compromise and despair. Here we've got the Page of Pentacles reversed, the King of Wands, and the Five of Pentacles. So I think, just to clarify it, I think this is about reparations. Right. Right. So this is something that's been denied, right? And again, the offer is either delayed or denied. But a new idea, right? A new effort, right? Putting passion behind an effort can bring us in from out of the cold. What I think this is a little more challenging than I thought, I must say, because there's not a major arcana in it, right? So these are just kind of everyday mundane concerns. So I think it's saying on the day-to-day that this is the key to it, right? Wands represent the element of fire. So we have to stand in a level of authority in terms of our passion for Black liberation, right? Because right now, these two together, right, opportunities being denied and a lack mindset, those things together are not going to cut it. All right? And so this is our key here, is to be authoritative and shrewd, right? I don't know if you can see it there, but his eyes, it looks like he's squinting at something, right? And so you squint sometimes if you need to wear glasses, but you also squint if you're like strategizing, right? And so this opportunity might be delayed or denied, right? I'm thinking specifically about the victims of the Tulsa massacre that just had a judge tell them that they are not eligible for any restitution for the nightmare of domestic terrorism that they experienced, right? So that's definitely an opportunity, a very recent opportunity that was taken and denied. But we still got to stand in our passion about it and our authority, right? And then kind of get out of the, man, this is what always happens, we're never going to win. No, screw that, right? You got to get out of that mentality. That's how I'm reading it. I might be wrong about all of these things, but those are my thoughts. That's what I'm thinking about. And this is a cool oracle deck, okay? So again, it's called Ask Your Guides. Sorry that it's backwards for you. And the creator is Sonia Choquette. All right, so check that out. I'm just going to put this back here and stay organized. A couple of other things that I want to talk about. I am going to link to a video from Sabrina Salvati. She does news coverage on YouTube, other places as well, I believe. And she had about a 20 or 30 minute video where she broke down these draft bills. And I feel like that's, you know, if you're concerned about it, it's definitely better coverage than I've provided. Because I just immediately jumped to the belligerents because that's in my wheelhouse. So it's just like, these mother effers. And then this other YouTuber that I saw, she says father effers. And so I was just like, well, if you wanted to combine the two, you could say parent effers. There's something extremely disturbing about that. Therefore, I think I'm going to start using it. But I digress. Anyway, Sabrina Salvati, really good breakdown, explanation of what's happening, in terms of them changing the draft registration and automating it. And Dennis Kucinich is heavily featured in the video in terms of his protest of this. So I'm going to link to that. I also want to link to a petition. I don't know if moveon.org. I'm going to find a reputable petition to link to in the comments as well to protest that shit, because it's like I don't have children at the moment, but I'm not a person that, I don't believe in eating my young, right? And so the youth now, like 18 to 30, they should not have to die because we haven't made good decisions. Like, I'm not with that. And so I'll sign a petition. if there are protests. I think I might have some time next month. I am so against that. I'm so against it. Because, one of the things Sabrina talks about very specifically, which I hadn't even thought of, is that it'll be like how the draft was in the 70s, where if you're rich, you can get out of it. And so our people, our young black men, our young black women, if they decide to draft women, our young people of all races, creeds, and colors, I don't support sending them to die for these wars of aggression. I don't. So I will link to that. All right, last thing here. I do want to share a couple of poems today. And I have not been to the two websites that I usually go to, so it'll be interesting to see if the compromise and despair link up with the poems, because usually if I pull cards, I've noticed that thematically they somehow link together. So we'll see what happens. Just a sec. Okay. Broadcasting at its best. Okay. Oh, is this going to take a little while to load? This iPad mini, I think I got this in 2016, and I'm grateful it still turns on. Hold on. Let's see. Oops. Okay, so we'll go to Poetry Foundation first. Okay. All right, so this first poem, it's called The Grand Conversation by Paul Muldoon. The Grand Conversation by Paul Muldoon. My people came from correlates where they grew yellow cucumbers and studied the Talmud. Mine poured over the mud of mangold and potato pits, or flickered through kale planted from Comer as bibliomancers of old went a-flicking through decal mold. Mine would lie low in the shekel when they heard the distant thunder stolen by the Cossacks. It was potato sacks lumped together on a settled mind, found them on the set. Oops, let me do that again. I'm going to read that stanza again. Mine would lie low in the shekel when they heard the distant thunder stolen by the Cossacks. It was potato sacks lumped together on a settled mine, found themselves lying under the peep o' day flap. Whoa. The imagery here is getting dense. Like I'm seeing somebody with a potato sack over their head, and I'm getting lost in it. So sorry, I'm going to try one more time. I actually can read, by the way. Mine would lie low in the shuttle. Oh, okay, I was saying that wrong. Mine would lie low in the shuttle when they heard the distant thunder stolen by the Cossacks. It was potato sacks lumped together on a settle mine, found themselves lying under the peep o' day boys from Lugal, making defenders of us all. Mine once controlled the sugar trade from the slits of Lagerhands and were granted the deed to Charlottesville. Indeed, my people called a spade and were admitted to the hands of pike and pickaxe men, shovels leaning to their lean-to hovels. Ooh, bars. I'll read that again. Right? My people called a spade and were admitted to the hands of pike and pickaxe men, shovels leaning to their lean-to hovels. Mine were trained to make a suture after the bomb and the bombast, having done their very worst. Between fierce sad and versed, we may yet construct our future as we've constructed our past, and cry out loud, my love, each to each from his or her own quicken queech. Wow. She, each from his stand of mountain ash, will cry out over valley farms, spotlit with pear blossom. He, there some young Absalom picks his way through the cache after cache of ammunition and small arms hidden in grain wells, while his nag tugs at reins caught on a snag. This is a tricky, very mischievous poem lyrically, what he does here. And I'm unfamiliar with this poet, so forgive me. The language here. It plays pranks on you because I have this thing where, I don't really write poetry as much, but I do write some poetry, and I tend to focus more on the vowels, on the ways that the sounds can, kind of glide past each other. And here, right, where it says, hidden in grain wells while his nag tugs at the rein caught on a snag, right? And so even though nag and snag rhyme, so there's something satisfying about that, this rain caught, right, is very consonant heavy. So your elocution has to be on point before you get there. And mine is not today. So thank you, poem Muldoon. All right, let's get one more poem, and then I will gallivant my little angry mind off into the sunset. Hold on. Okay. Here we go. American Academy of Poets. Okay. And here the poem is called Solstice Repo. Wow. Solstice Repo by I can't speak today. Shailja Patel. All right. So Solstice Repo. More than the obvious metaphor of depth for roots to fully extend, of leaves elevated to eat blue lights, of fingers smooshing generative dirt, it's when I hear myself sing to you, Cressula ovata, as I upheave you, croon ballads, as I displace you, shawl melody around earthquake, as if to say to your bright fat leaves, nothing is promised. Sweet green girl, I know the terror of unhoming. Dance this one with me. And there is no punctuation here, I don't think. No, okay, so there's commas, but there are no periods or exclamation points or question marks. Wow. Sweet green girl. You sweet green girl. I like that. Shawl melody. See, here, it felt more fluid for me, but what sticks out to me about this poet is her phraseology, right? Meaning, for me, the way I use that word is like how she's stringing, 2 to 3 words together, and it creates the phrase and the image, right? Cressula ovata. Let me look that up. I don't know what that is. Oh, it's a plant. Hold on a sec. Cressula ovata, commonly known as jade plant, a lucky plant. Okay. I see where she's going with this now. And so the line, it says, when I hear myself sing to you, Crasula ovata, right? So it's something about this girl. She wants to cloak her in some protection or in some luck. I wonder if the author is talking to her younger self. Perhaps. All right. So just one more reminder before I hop off of here. Again, tomorrow, Friday, June 21st at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll do our first interview here with Jasmine McMullen. So I'll post more ads tonight and in the morning. Really hope you can join us for that. And this has been the Composite Season 4, Episode 4. And we're out.